You earned a gold medal.
I'll tell you, here in Missouri, we love our anime. Anime over here has no shortage of hot numbers. Crunchyroll may as well be called Tomato Town. Ay ay ay, look at those women. I hope you brought your pack of yoo-hoos, because here are some of our favorites. Number 1, who was part of the Lovely Angels and has pink hair and carries a gun? That's right, it's Kay from Dirty Pair. Zooey Mama, what a baddie she is. You see, the reason why she's attractive is because she has a headband and pink hair. But you can't forget her ship. She can fly that thing for hours. Whoa, Bonanza, I'll take her to Carrabba's. So long as I don't make her angry in the process. Slow down over there. Number 2, who wears a purple dark dress and has dark blue eyes, but straight blonde hair? Well, get your dumplings ready, because we're going to Belarus. No, not the country, you fucker. We're talking about her. Belarus. I like her because she wears a dress and a bow. Another attractive thing about her is that she carries a knife, which she was probably given while she was in the Union with Lithuania until 1795. After that, the Belarusian territories acquired by the Russian Empire under the reign of Catherine II were now included in the Belarusian Governorate until the First World War, when they were occupied by the German Empire. Under Nicholas I and Alexander III, the national cultures were repressed. Policies of Polonization were changed, which included the return to Orthodox Christianity in Belarusian uniates. Nicholas I prohibited the use of Belarusian language in public schools and campaigned against Belarusian publications. In 1863, economic and cultural pressure exploded in a revolt led by Konstanty Kalinowski. Dude, it freaking failed, bro. It freaking failed, I'll tell you that. During the negotiations of the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk, Belarus first declared independence under German occupation in 1918, forming the Belarusian People's Republic. The Polish-Soviet War erupted and the territory of Belarus was divided between Poland and Soviet Russia. The Belarusian Democratic Republic exists as a government in exile and is the currently longest-serving government in exile. The Belarusian People's Republic was the first attempt to create an independent state under the name Belarus. Despite significant efforts, the state ceased to exist, primarily because the territory was continually dominated by the Bolsheviks. The Republic of Central Lithuania was a short-lived political entity, which was the last attempt to restore Lithuania and the historical confederacy. The Republic was created in 1920 following the staged rebellion of soldiers of the 1st Lithuanian Belarusian Division of the Polish Army under Lucien Chaligoski. Centered on the historical capital of the Grand Duchy of Lithuania. For 18 months, the entity served as a buffer state between Poland, which it depended, and Lithuania, which claimed the area. After a variety of delays, a disputed election took place on January 1922, and the territory was annexed to Poland. Chaligoski later in his memoir condemned the annexation of the Republic by Poland in general disregard of Marshal Józef Pilsudski Confederation plans by Polish ally. In 1919, a part of Belarus under Russian rule emerged as the Belarusian Soviet Socialist Republic. Soon thereafter, it merged to form the Lithuanian Belarusian SSR. The contested lands were divided between Poland and the Soviet Union after the war ended, and the Belarusian SSR became a founding member of the Union of Socialist Republics in 1922. In the 30s, Soviet agriculture and economic policies, including collectivization and 5-year plans for the national economy, led to famine and political repression. The west part of modern Belarus remained a part of the Second Polish Republic after an early period of liberalization. Tensions between an increasingly nationalistic Polish government and various increasingly separatist ethnic minorities start to grow, and the Belarusian minority was no exception. The Polonization drive was inspired and influenced by the Polish national democracy led by Roman Dmowski, who advocated refusing Belarusians and Ukrainians the right for a free national development. A Belarusian organization, the Belarus Peasants and Workers Union, was banned in 1927, and opposition to Polish government was met with state repressions. Nonetheless, compared to the larger Ukrainian minority, Belarusians were much less politically aware and active, and thus suffered fewer repressions than the Ukrainians. After the death of Józef Pilsudski, a new wave of repressions was released upon the minorities, with many Orthodox churches and Belarusian schools being closed. Use of the Belarusian language was discouraged, and Belarusian leadership was sent to Bereza Kartuska prison. But now, let's talk about the Second World War. In 1939, Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union invaded and occupied Poland, marking the beginning of the Second World War. The Soviets invaded and annexed much of eastern Poland, which had been a part of the country since the Peace of Riga. Much of the northern section of this area was added to the Belarusian SSR, and now constitutes West Belarus. Nazi Germany invaded the Soviet Union in 1941. The Brest Fortress, which had been annexed in 1939, at this time was subject to one of the most destructive onslaughts that happened during the war. Statistically, the Belarusian SSR was the hardest hit Soviet republic in World War II. It remained in Nazi hands until 1944. During that time, Germany destroyed 209 out of 90 cities, 85% of the republic's industry, and more than 1 million buildings. After the war, Belarus was among the 51 founding member states of the United Nations Charter, and as such it was allowed an additional vote at the UN, on top of the Soviet Union's vote. Vigorous post-war reconstruction promptly followed the end of the war by the Belarusian SSR, became a major center of manufacturing in the Western USSR, creating jobs and attracting ethnic Russians. The borders of the Belarusian SSR and Poland were redrawn in accord with the 1919 proposed Curzon Line. Joseph Stalin implemented a policy of Sovietization to isolate the Belarusian SSR from the Western influences. This policy involved sending Russians from various parts of the Soviet Union and placing them in key positions in the Belarusian SSR government. After Stalin's death in 1953, Nikita Khrushchev continued his predecessor's cultural hegemony, stating, "The sooner we all start speaking Russian, the faster we shall build communism." In June 1988, the archaeologist and leader of the Christian Conservative Party of the Belarusian People's Front, Zionon Pazniak, discovered mass graves of victims executed in 1937 to 1941 near Minsk. Some nationalists contend that this discovery is proof that the Soviet government was trying to erase the Belarusian people. Bananas! I'd take her to Cinzetti's, wouldn't you? That brings me to my next to my next girl on the list. Who wears overalls and has blue overalls? No, who wears blue overalls and carries a pitchfork and has a huge rack? You guessed it, it's Ukraine. What I like most about Ukraine is her bright blue eyes and her headband. Ever dated a farm girl? I don't think so.